I I personally obviously think there's a cause. Yeah, the thing that I was saying was I don't know if it's particularly even about theism. It's more challenging stupidity or ignorance. It's reaffirming what is actually true and empirically verifiable in the world. And unfortunately the most prolific perpetrator of untruth and failed intelligence against science and against reality is religion in all its various forms and guises. So that's what's going to come in for kicking. That's religion is the thing which has the most effect on the non-religious, far more than various pseudoscientific things like homeopathy, as I've mentioned, or astrology. That's not so much of a threat, whereas religion is actually a legitimate threat, and it's perfectly valid to address it as such. So when people say to me, "Oh, why do you care so much?" I will point to, I don't know, Ashura, or I'll point to circumcision, or I'll point to vicious bigotry of whatever kind. There's a great deal of wrong done by religion, and that's what the cause is. I think it's an attempt to get religion in specific cases. It's to get this wrongdoing made right. It's to stop all the bad things that religion does in specific cases. So the specific cases are people like Ken Ham talking, well, lies. It's people like Hovind convincing people that something is true when it's patently and observably not. That's the specific things that I think kind of YouTube or internet atheist movement goes against, and it's so successful at doing it, I think, purely because it's on the internet. It can go anywhere. It can find any clip. I know any person. It's much more easy than real life. And that's I've done that in real life, as I've mentioned at Speaker's Corner. For anybody who doesn't know, Speaker's Corner is a place in London where every Sunday people turn up and preach. Generally, it's religion. It used to be a lot more political. Now it's just a lot of religious nutters. I've been there a couple of times. I've been there once with Tom with Andromeda's Wake. And I didn't so much preach, we didn't so much preach as invite question. So even then, even in the midst of the enemy's fortress, I wasn't throwing grenades. I was simply standing there, inviting question with a big signboard. And when people asked me, well, how can you prove that God doesn't exist? I would go into what has become my spiel because I hear those questions so often. So to me personally, my particular cause is against people who have either been brainwashed into thinking completely wrong things, or the people that brainwash them. To me, it's about not knowing how wonderful things actually are, and simply just putting God in there because you can't take it. The actual real misdeeds, and I don't want to use the word evil because I'm aware that morality is subjective. It kind of makes me critical, but for want of a better word, I'll say that the major evils of religion are too much for one or even the entire YouTube to go after. But what I think YouTube atheism does, or atheists on YouTube do, is start to erode and pick away at the foundations. It makes more people question. And Tom, you managed to do that with Truthful Christian to an extent, so it seemed, and that's quite an achievement. It's to make people aware that everybody, these theists, have feet of clay. They're talking nonsense, and it can be proved as nonsense, however eloquently it's put forward. And that's the dig at William Lane Craig there. Yeah. It's about making it known that if you can disprove an aspect of theism, it means the whole thing should or could or should collapse, and that includes bigotry. It includes harming people. It includes killing people for thinking the wrong thing. As soon as you can get people to accept the minor things as wrong, you can move on from there. But for me personally, my cause is, I think it's more just people thinking things which are wrong, and me knowing that they think they're wrong, and I can tell them otherwise. In fact, it quite often doesn't work as a material. If you have enough time, you can do it.
So, I mean, just thinking of just stopping there on that point about personal causes, or about the cause that you personally have. I want to go back to Andy on this one, actually. When someone asks you a question, when someone approaches one of your videos, Andy, what's your hope that someone who has never encountered what we have come to roughly define as a YouTube atheist. What is your hope for them seeing one of your videos? Do you hope that they're going to get involved, or do you hope that they'll just take away the message and take that away?
Well, I mean, it depends on what their attitude. I think we all get all these trolls who really don't care, and in that case, I just kind of ignore them. But I mean, I really don't think about it in terms of, I hope they, become an atheist eventually. I kind of just hope that I can talk to people about, whatever the topic is, whether it be about morality or science. And I think those discussions tend to lead towards, what I believe. I think, when you actually start having those conversations, it leads that way. That's not usually my intention. My intention is essentially to have, a dialogue to learn things and maybe hope they'll learn something from me. That's what I'm thinking, anyway.
Yeah.
However cheesy that sounds.
Well, it is pretty cheesy, but I like it. No, I like it because, there was that interview with, Richard Dawkins going back a long way, but he had said, he's gone on record to say, I hope that by the time you put the God delusion down, I think it might actually be in the preface to the book, I hope by the time you put this book down, you will be an atheist. He was hoping that theists would pick up the book and atheists would put it down, which is a very definite cause for having the book and putting it out there. But obviously a book, whilst it can generate discussion in another forum, you can't talk to a book. You can't, it's just you and the book, whereas, YouTube gives you the back and forth. What about you, James? When you put up a video, is it your hope that people will agree with you, or is it your hope that people will disagree and bring more discussion?
I like a little affirmation as much as anybody. But I don't think that my primary motivation for uploading any video is really getting agreement. I'm really, really fascinated by what this forum is, and I enjoy dialogue a lot. I think the majority of my videos are responses to people, or are responses to people. And most of my videos, I think the goal of any one of them is to spark some sort of discussion, to make people think about the issues that I'm thinking about. When I make a video about teleology, I make it because I think that I might have some interesting angle on it, and I'm interested in presenting what that angle is, and seeing what people think about it, and just seeing what sticks to the wall, I guess. So conversation is really the thing that I'm primarily interested in.
Great. Speaking of affirmation, I obviously don't want to focus on this because I know this is not your major focus. But there's one thing that brings the four of us together, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to get the four of us together for this show, at least. And that is that we are all, and I'm going to be terribly polite here, we are all somewhat, we disapprove of the methods made by one Dr. William Lane Craig, a research professor of theology. And, yeah, so this is something I want to focus on. This is a question I didn't put in the video, but I just couldn't let this one go. We have all made, me least of all, videos addressing William Lane Craig. Das American Atheist James, I subscribed to when I found a video on William Lane Craig, and you have actually made several addressing him on different topics. Andy, Anti-Boo86, has made just so many interesting videos about Craig, particularly about the kinds of things that find their way into his podcast and into his writings, which is great. And this was a triumph. You made your entire